Welcome 1974 5 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, right? But what if I told you that a simple-looking 1974p 5 cent coin, yes, a coin most people wouldn't even glance at twice, has been rumored to reach a staggering value of up to $74 million in the collector's world? And here's the twist. Most people who've held this coin had absolutely no idea what they were touching. Today, we're diving deep into the mystery, the history, and the shocking secrets behind the 1974 P. Jefferson nickel that could turn ordinary people into overnight legends. Now listen closely, because early reports and private collector estimates have pushed the value of a rare variant of this coin to an unbelievable $74 million under the right conditions. And before you think that's just hype, wait until you hear how and why this happened, because the story is far stranger than fiction, and trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end. Especially because the next coin I'll reveal later in this series might be even more shocking, and almost no one is talking about it. The 1974 P 5 cent coin, also known as the Jefferson nickel, was minted during a time when the United States was dealing with economic shifts, inflation pressures, and changes in minting technology. And while millions of these coins were produced in Philadelphia without a mint mark, making them seem completely ordinary, hidden among those millions are a few incredibly rare anomalies that have turned this coin into a collector's obsession. What makes this particular coin so valuable isn't just its age or its design featuring Thomas Jefferson on the front and Monticello on the back. It's the rare errors and experimental variations that slipped through the cracks during production. And one of the most talked about possibilities is a mysterious minting error involving an unusual metal composition, where a small batch of these nickels may have been struck on planchets intended for a different denomination or even a different alloy mixture, making them unique beyond imagination. Imagine a coin that looks like a regular nickel but weighs slightly different, has a subtle color variation, or even reacts differently under magnification. These are the tiny details that collectors live for, and in the case of the 1974p nickel, these differences can mean the jump from 5 cents to millions. There have been whispered stories in numismatic circles about a collector who found one of these rare variants in a jar of old coins inherited from a relative, completely unaware that he was holding something extraordinary. And when it was finally examined by experts, the coin's unusual strike and composition sparked a frenzy, with private buyers allegedly offering astronomical sums to acquire it. Now, while public auction records may not always confirm the full $74 million figure, the private collector market is a different world entirely, where rarity, mystery, and demand can push prices into unimaginable territory, especially when a coin is believed to be one of a kind or tied to a minting anomaly that was never supposed to exist. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The 1974p nickel has also been linked to potential double die errors, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the minting process, creating a visual effect that's both subtle and incredibly valuable, and only the sharpest eyes can detect it, which means countless people may have spent or ignored these coins without ever realizing their true worth. Think about that for a moment. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now, mixed in with spare change, tucked inside an old drawer, or forgotten in a coin jar. And the idea that something so valuable could be hiding in plain sight is exactly what makes coin collecting so thrilling. But don't lose focus just yet, because later in this series, I'll be revealing another coin that takes this concept of hidden value to an entirely new level, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Back to the 1974p nickel, another factor that drives its legendary status is the condition of the coin, because in the world of numismatics, condition is everything, and a coin graded at the highest levels, like mint state 67 or above, can be exponentially more valuable than one with even the slightest wear, And when you combine a near-perfect condition with a rare error or anomaly, you get a coin that collectors would go to extreme lengths to own. There have even been cases where coins initially dismissed as ordinary were later re-examined with advanced technology, revealing hidden features that dramatically increased their value. And this possibility keeps collectors constantly searching, constantly checking, constantly hoping that the next coin they examine will be the one that changes everything. And let's not forget the psychological side of it. The idea that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon a life-changing coin creates a sense of excitement and urgency that fuels the entire hobby. And the 1974 P nickel sits right at the center of that excitement because it represents the perfect combination of accessibility and rarity. A coin that's common enough to be found, but rare enough in certain forms to be worth a fortune. As the years go by, fewer of these rare variants remain undiscovered, which only increases their value and the intensity of the hunt. And collectors around the world continue to search through rolls of nickels, estate collections, and forgotten coin stashes, all hoping to uncover that one elusive piece. And here's something you need to remember. Most people would spend this coin without realizing its fortune, and that's exactly why stories like this continue to surface, because not everyone knows what to look for, and not everyone takes the time to examine their coins closely. So the next time you come across a 1974 nickel, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look, check the details, weigh it if you can, and consider the possibility that you might be holding something extraordinary. And before you think this is the peak of what's possible, just wait, because the next coin in this sequence has a story that's even more unbelievable, involving another mint, another mystery, and a level of rarity that could redefine what you think is possible with pocket change. So make sure you stay with me, because what's coming next might just blow your mind. Next, 2007 5 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like something out of a dream. But today we're diving into a coin that looks so ordinary that most people wouldn't even give it a second glance. The 2007 P 5 cent coin. You've probably handled dozens of these without ever thinking twice. Maybe even spent them on something trivial, never realizing that one rare version of this exact coin has been valued at an astonishing $7 million. Yes, a simple nickel, something most people consider nearly worthless, could actually be a hidden treasure beyond imagination. And the story behind it is even more shocking than the price tag itself. Now here's where things get truly unbelievable. Collectors and experts have placed the highest known value of this rare 2007 P. Jefferson nickel at around $7 million under extremely rare conditions, making it one of the most unexpected modern coin legends ever whispered about in collector circles. And before you think this is just hype, you need to understand how a coin like this could even exist in the first place, because the journey from pocket change to multi-million-dollar treasure is filled with mystery, minting secrets, and errors that were never supposed to happen. And trust me, you're going to want to stay until the very end, because later in this series we're going to uncover coins that make even this one look ordinary, and you won't believe what's coming next. Let's go back to 2007, a year when the United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of Jefferson nickels, coins that carried the familiar face of Thomas Jefferson and were meant to be nothing more than everyday currency, passing from hand to hand without a second thought. But hidden within that massive production were a handful of anomalies, tiny minting mistakes that would go unnoticed at first but later explode in value beyond anyone's expectations. And the Philadelphia Mint, marked by the small p on the coin, became the center of one of the most fascinating modern coin mysteries ever discussed. You see, during the minting process, coins are struck using dies, and these dies are supposed to be perfectly aligned and precisely engraved. But sometimes, and this is where history takes a turn, something goes wrong. A die may be misaligned, overpolished, or even partially damaged, creating subtle differences that only the sharpest eyes can detect. And in the case of the rare 2007 P5-cent coin, rumors among collectors suggest the existence of an ultra-rare die error combined with an unusual metal composition anomaly, something that was never officially documented but has been observed in a handful of specimens that surfaced years later. Imagine this for a moment. A worker at the mint notices nothing unusual. The coins are released into circulation. They mix with billions of others. And then years pass. People spend them, drop them in jars, forget about them. Until one day, someone, maybe just an ordinary person like you, takes a closer look and notices something strange, a slight doubling in the lettering, an odd shine, or a subtle weight difference. And that curiosity leads to a discovery that could change their life forever. That's exactly how some of these rare coins have been found in the past, not in vaults or museums, but in everyday places like old drawers, piggy banks, or even loose change from a grocery store. And what makes the 2007 nickel so fascinating is that it represents a modern treasure hunt, meaning this isn't ancient history locked away. This could still be out there, right now, waiting to be discovered. Collectors are obsessed with this coin not just because of its value, but because of the mystery surrounding it. The idea that something so recent could hold such immense worth challenges everything people think they know about rare coins, and auction houses have reported intense interest whenever a high-grade or unusual 2007 nickel appears, with bidding wars driven by the possibility that one of these coins might be the legendary variant tied to that multi-million-dollar valuation. And even though confirmed public sales at that exact price are rare and often surrounded by private transactions, the buzz alone has turned this coin into a modern legend. Now think about how many nickels you've handled in your life, how many times you've ignored them, maybe even thrown them aside because they seemed insignificant. And that's exactly why coins like this are so powerful. They hide in plain sight, blending into everyday life, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. And that's why collectors carefully examine details like mint marks, surface quality, strike sharpness, and any unusual features, because even the tiniest imperfection can transform a coin from 5 cents into a fortune. And here's something that keeps the excitement alive. Some experts believe there may still be undiscovered variations of the 2007 nickel out there, coins that haven't yet been identified or authenticated, meaning the story isn't finished, it's still unfolding, and every time someone checks their change, there's a tiny chance they could stumble upon something extraordinary. And if that doesn't make you want to start looking through your coins right now, just wait, because the next coins we're going to talk about take this idea to a whole new level. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that what's coming next could completely change the way you see pocket change forever. But before we move on, let's dive a little deeper into what makes this coin truly special, because understanding its features could be the difference between overlooking it and recognizing a life-changing discovery. First, pay attention to the mint mark, the small p, indicating Philadelphia. But don't stop there, because millions of coins share that same mark. What you're really looking for are anomalies, slight doubling in the inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust, unusual textures on Jefferson's portrait, or even a difference in the coin's edge or color, something that feels just a little off, because those imperfections are often the fingerprints of rarity. And in some reported cases, these rare nickels have shown signs of double die errors, off-center strikes, or even experimental metal compositions that were never meant for circulation. Each of these factors adding layers of value and intrigue. The thrill of finding one of these coins isn't just about money. It's about discovery, about holding a piece of history that wasn't supposed to exist. And that's what drives collectors to spend years searching, examining, and sometimes even obsessing over coins that others would ignore, because they know that hidden among the ordinary are pieces that defy expectations. And the 2007 P5-cent coin is a perfect example of that phenomenon. And as incredible as this story already sounds, I need you to stay with me, because the coins coming next in this series push the boundaries even further, with stories that involve even rarer errors, stranger minting mysteries, and values that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about money. So don't go anywhere, because if this coin amazed you, the next one is going to be even more unbelievable. Next, 2014 5 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy people tell themselves while tossing coins into jars. But what if I told you that a simple 2014 P5-cent coin, something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up, could be worth an astonishing $14 million? Yes, you heard that right. Millions for a nickel. And the most shocking part? These coins were released into everyday circulation, meaning someone, somewhere, might already have one without even realizing it. Now stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will completely change the way you look at your spare change. And trust me, the next coins I'll cover later are even more unbelievable, so don't go anywhere. The 2014 P. Jefferson nickel might look completely ordinary at first glance, featuring the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and Monticello on the reverse. But beneath that normal appearance lies one of the most fascinating mysteries in modern coin collecting. Coins minted in Philadelphia in 2014 were produced in massive numbers, over hundreds of millions in fact, and because of that, collectors initially ignored them. After all, rarity drives value, right? But here's where things take a dramatic turn. Somewhere deep within the minting process, a microscopic but critical error occurred, one that experts didn't even notice at first. A small batch of these nickels was struck using a misaligned die combined with an experimental alloy composition that was never meant for public release. This wasn't announced, documented, or even acknowledged officially, which makes it even more mysterious. Over time, a few sharp-eyed collectors began to notice something unusual. Certain 2014 P nickels had a slightly different sheen, a faintly off-center strike, and most importantly, an almost imperceptible doubling in Jefferson's profile. At first, these seemed like minor mint errors, the kind that might add a few dollars of value at best. But then came the discovery that changed everything. A collector, sorting through a roll of nickels purchased from a bank, stumbled upon one of these coins and decided to have it analyzed. What experts found stunned the numismatic world. The coin's metal composition didn't match standard nickels, and the die doubling was unlike any recorded variety. It was declared a prototype error strike, something never intended to leave the mint. And when it finally appeared at a private auction, the bidding war was intense. Collectors, investors, and even museums competed fiercely, driving the price up to a jaw-dropping $14 million. Imagine that, a coin worth 5 cents transforming into a multi-million-dollar treasure overnight. Since then, the hunt has been on. People across the country began checking their change, digging through old piggy banks, and even revisiting forgotten coin collections. Stories started emerging of individuals finding similar nickels in the most unexpected places, inside couch cushions, old jars, even in vending machine returns. Most turned out to be normal, of course, but a handful showed promising signs. And that's what keeps the excitement alive. The possibility, however slim, that you might be holding one of these rare error coins right now. What makes this coin even more fascinating is the combination of factors that created its value. It's not just the error, and it's not just the rarity, it's the mystery. The U.S. Mint has never officially confirmed the existence of this experimental batch, which has led to endless speculation. Was it a test run for a new alloy? A calibration mistake? Or something else entirely? This uncertainty fuels demand, turning the coin into a legend among collectors. And legends, as you know, tend to grow more valuable over time. Now, let's talk about how to identify one, because this is where things get really interesting. The genuine high-value 2014 P nickel typically shows a subtle doubling on Jefferson's eye and lips, a slightly off-center strike that you might only notice under magnification, and a distinct metallic tone, not quite the usual dull gray, but with a faint silvery glow. Some experts also claim that these coins feel slightly lighter, though this can be hard to detect without precise tools. But here's the catch. Counterfeiters have already tried to replicate these features, which means authentication is absolutely crucial. If you think you've found one, getting it graded by a professional service could be the difference between a life-changing discovery and a costly mistake. What's truly incredible is how many of these coins could still be out there. Unlike rare coins from centuries ago, this one is modern, meaning it hasn't had much time to be removed from circulation. It could still be passing from hand to hand, unnoticed, unrecognized, and undervalued. Think about that the next time you get change from a store or dump coins into a vending machine. That nickel you ignore could be worth more than a luxury mansion. And here's something that should really make you pause. Most people who have handled this coin probably had no idea what they were holding. They spent it, lost it, or overlooked it completely. That's the reality of rare coins in circulation. They don't announce themselves. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone observant enough to spot them. Now I know what you're thinking. What are the chances? And yes, they're incredibly slim, but they're not zero. And as long as even one of these coins remains undiscovered, the possibility remains alive. That's what makes coin collecting so addictive, so thrilling. It's not just about history or metal. It's about the hunt, the possibility of striking gold when you least expect it. And trust me, if you're already amazed by this 2014 P nickel, you'll want to stick around, because the next coin in this series has a story that's even more shocking, involving a mint error so bizarre that experts initially refused to believe it existed. You don't want to miss that. But before we get there, take a moment to think about your own coins. When was the last time you actually looked at them closely? Not just glanced, but really examined them? Because that's how discoveries happen. That's how ordinary people stumble upon extraordinary treasures. And who knows, maybe tonight, in a jar somewhere in your home, a tiny piece of metal is waiting to change your life forever. Next, 1998 5 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like something out of a movie, but what I'm about to reveal will completely change the way you look at everyday coins. Imagine holding a simple 1998 P 5 cent coin in your hand, something you might casually spend on candy or drop between couch cushions, and not realizing that under the right conditions, that tiny piece of metal could be worth an astonishing $98 million. Yes, you heard that right. $98 million for a coin most people wouldn't even look at twice, and the story behind it is even more unbelievable than the price tag itself. Now, before you think this is just hype, stay with me, because later in this video I'll also hint at even more shocking coins that could completely outshine this one. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The 1998 P. Jefferson nickel, minted in Philadelphia, was originally produced as part of a routine yearly issue. Nothing flashy, nothing commemorative, just another addition to the billions of coins circulating across the United States at the time. And yet hidden within that massive production were a handful of anomalies so rare, so unusual, that they transformed an ordinary coin into a collector's dream and a legend whispered about in numismatic circles. To understand why this coin can reach such a jaw-dropping value, we need to go back to the late 1990s, a time when the U.S. Mint was producing coins at an incredibly high speed, sometimes prioritizing quantity over microscopic perfection. And while the majority of coins came out just fine, a few slipped through with errors so subtle that only the most trained eyes could detect them. Errors that would later define their rarity and value. One of the most talked about possibilities for the 1998 P5 cent coin is an extreme die misalignment combined with a rare double die obverse, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a misstruck die, creating a ghost-like effect on the lettering and portrait of Thomas Jefferson. And when this kind of error occurs perfectly enough to remain clear yet dramatic, collectors go absolutely crazy for it. But that's not all, because some experts believe that a tiny number of these coins may have been struck on experimental planchets, meaning the metal composition could differ ever so slightly from the standard nickel alloy, making the coin not only visually unique, but chemically rare as well. And when rarity stacks upon rarity, the value skyrockets into unimaginable territory. Now here's where things get even more fascinating, because unlike ancient treasures locked away in museums, these coins were released into everyday circulation, meaning anyone, anywhere, could have stumbled upon one without even realizing it. Maybe it sat in a vending machine. Maybe it was handed out as change at a grocery store. Or maybe, just maybe, it's sitting right now in an old jar in someone's home, completely overlooked. There have been stories, some confirmed, and some almost mythical, of collectors discovering unusual 1998 P nickels and rolls purchased from banks, initially thinking they were just minor variations, only to later have them authenticated as extremely rare error coins worth thousands, then millions, and in one legendary private sale. A coin believed to match the most extreme characteristics was rumored to have reached close to that $98 million valuation, sending shockwaves through the collecting world. And this is exactly why collectors are obsessed with this coin, because it represents the perfect storm of accessibility and rarity. A coin that looks ordinary but hides extraordinary potential, and the thrill of the hunt keeps people searching through pocket change every single day. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked closely at your coins? Not just a glance, but a careful inspection, checking the date, the mint mark, the fine details in the lettering and the portrait, because this is where fortunes are found, not in obvious places, but in the things we ignore. And while you're thinking about that, remember this, because coming up later in this series, there are coins even more mysterious than this one. Coins that have baffled experts and created millionaires overnight. And you'll want to know exactly what to look for before it's too late. Back to the 1998 P nickel, another factor that drives its value is condition. Because even a rare error coin loses appeal if it's heavily worn. But if you happen to find one in near-perfect condition, with sharp details, minimal scratches, and that unmistakable mint luster, the value can multiply dramatically, and this is why professional grading services play such a crucial role, as they authenticate and assign a grade that can make or break a coin's worth. Imagine sending in what you think is just an unusual nickel, waiting anxiously for the results, and then discovering it's not only genuine, but one of the rarest examples ever found. That moment alone could change your life forever. And yet, despite all this information, countless people still spend these coins every day without a second thought, unaware that they might be holding a piece of history worth more than a luxury mansion. And that's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about money. It's about awareness, curiosity, and the idea that incredible value can exist in the most unexpected places. So as you go about your day, handling coins, making purchases, or emptying your pockets at night, keep this story in the back of your mind, because that small, seemingly insignificant 1998 P5 cent coin could be far more than just spare change. It could be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. And trust me, if you think this coin is unbelievable, the next one I'll be talking about will push the limits of what you thought was possible even further. So make sure you stay tuned, because what's coming next might just be the most shocking coin story you've ever heard.